kinds of initiatives can companies come up with to make women feel more supported and more valued?
You know, I mentioned earlier that it's got to be both top down, but it's also from ground up. And ground up means that we've got to develop a series of things to reach out and develop the careers of the women in the company. We have very specific human capital reviews where we review and discuss the high potential and try to move them along. We have training programs. We have what we call our Emerging Leader Program, where we very actively seek to put women in that. It's not just women, but we make sure that we are at parity in that program, if not higher, to accelerate that, put together very specific career paths for them. The reality of the situation is we're not doing any of ourselves a favor if the women that get into the senior leadership positions aren't successful when they get there.
Of course.
So we have to put in place programs to help them. But we also do a lot to engage them. Examples of, like this industry conference are great, where women get together, share common experiences. It's great for folks like, for the men that are here. We need to listen to what those issues are. So we have evenings of engagement where just women get together and talk about the challenges. We have senior leadership forums. There's nothing better than emerging leaders to sit with and see the women that are senior leaders, to inspire them and give them the confidence that they're going to be able to go. I have, you know, Leni Oberg, our CFO, graduated from the University of Virginia. She was a Tri-Delt sorority and went to the Commerce Service. Well, that's exactly one of my daughters, and I point out to her, and she's very inspired by that at her father's company, one of the, you know, arguably the second or third most senior executive, comes exactly from her background. So I think success begets success, but we've got to create those forums, those programs, and development programs, and we spend a lot of time trying to do that at Marriott.
As women in the industry or in leadership roles, we're expected to act like men. So if you're not tough, if you're not aggressive, you know, you're not doing your job. And women's styles are different than men, or different. How do we incorporate those different styles to make women feel that they don't have to become like a man to lead effectively? What can we do as an industry to really tap into that? Because I think a lot of women feel that in leadership roles.
Sometimes we have to step outside of ourselves and understand that as a kind of generation that went before, like now I feel like I'm the old girl at the table, which is fine. I'm happy to be that. But you got a little afraid that the generations behind you might be a little bit complacent because of the work that was done by the people who went before and the people who went before us. And there was a sense of, oh, we don't need to call ourselves feminists, we don't need to do any of this. And I think this ability now that, because now I do sense this kind of Generation Z coming in who is a little more testy and a little more like, what do you mean I can't do this? My mom does this and I should be able to do it even twice as easy. And disruption, as you mentioned, I think we have a disruptive generation coming in.
Very much so.
Which, as they start to get leadership positions, are going to be more and more interesting, and I can't wait to see what they do. And I think even the millennials who kind of came after us as Generation X's, if you want to call it that, they demanded a certain work-life balance that we never thought to ask for. And I think I thank them. I wish I'd asked for that. Like they bring change to an organization, and so I think it's a matter of not so much women. I think it's women owning their personalities, and it's people, as I said before, it wasn't just women who say to me, oh, I read your book and I get it. It's men who say it too. It's anyone who feels like they didn't fit that stereotypical structure of the old hierarchy, top down. It doesn't happen anymore, and people are disrupting it from underneath.
I'm very concerned about the training that we provide first-line supervisors. Do they have the skills that we need? And I think there we're talking about a culture of respect and a culture of performance. And I would just really encourage us, as well as all the wonderful things you've described, is to look at, you know, what we're doing at that level so that people want to stay in the industry and that they know their talents and their approach are being welcomed. One of the things I've come to realize through my work with the UN is that the companies that get this are reporting significant increases in their ability to attract talent at all levels. And so it will become a strategic differentiator. Young people today, our university students included, and I'm so delighted that some could join us today for this, are looking for organizations with a culture and values that align with their own, and they're not prepared to stay where they don't feel respected and valued. And so I think it really is this systems alignment and the experience at the first point of entry into the organization, as well as for those who have made it to perhaps middle management ranks.
Sure. I think it's happening now in industry where people are looking more towards sort of transformational leadership and what that means. And that involves someone who's capable of being collaborative. I mean, you spoke about it this morning. Someone who's capable of communication, someone who works with inspiration rather than fear to try and motivate their employees. And those are all skills that women have. I think that men are also capable of these things. I think a lot of the gender differences, and there's different studies that show different things, really it's how we've been taught to act in terms of, you know, a man is supposed to act a certain way as a leader and women are taught to act a different way as a leader, partially because if they were to act in that command and control style, they get backlash immediately. So we've almost been trained, frankly, as women to become the kind of leader that actually works really, really well for modern business, which is one that is collaborative, communicative, and inspirational.
What advice, I guess, would each of you give to women who want to break that barrier to get to the top? Is there something that from your own career that you've faced and overcome that you can share with the audience today?
Never think that you're not qualified for the next job. I think it's been mentioned this morning. Go for it even when you are not sure. I don't know that I ever was skilled for any of the jobs that I got. Katie can tell you. And then to look for P&L experience. So get out of the pink ghetto. And get into roles that are going to give you access to revenue generating areas such that they will lead closer to the top of the organization.